remote participants down.
G'day listeners, welcome to another episode of Triple J Racing Weekly. Fresh off the back of a pretty good performance last weekend, mate, with a few winners there in Alpha 1, Shades of Rose, and a couple of other nice winners we'll get into in a minute. But more importantly, mate, how are you doing there, Bryce?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate, and well done last weekend. You're on fire with your selections, and as you touched on, really impressive. Alpha 1 was super impressive with the jump and run, and a couple other nice winners. So overall, mate, it was a handy weekend, and I feel like a lot of the ones that were sort of at the shorter price were getting the job done. That we hopefully threw punters in with some confidence, and good to see Shades of Rose got into about that $1.70 I had of that, and J-Mac got it to really settle, and we got to see the best of the horse, which was good to see. How have you been, mate?
Yeah, really good, thanks. Just finished up down there at Kembla Grange this afternoon watching my horse Headstock having his second run of his career, and I thought he went really well, mate. So looking forward to his preparation. I think he'll be one to look out for, second and third up, hopefully in the right races. But yeah, mate, obviously I got my best bet home in Alpha 1 last weekend. You had Shades of Rose, so while they were pretty short, they got the job done really, really well. And what a horse this Alpha 1 is, 955 just on the rail, and absolutely gave him windburn there. And another bloke I wanted to touch on was Hugh Bowman. I thought he was going to have a good weekend, but how good were his rides on Wicklow and Pizarro there on the weekend?
Yeah, really good. The timing of Pizarro was spot on. Excited to see how it measures up this weekend as well. But it's got a bright future, that horse, and well found from you, mate. It's the gears are starting to click for it, so it was good to see.
Yeah, definitely deserved that win, and I was a little bit nervous there when I seen Hugh sort of peel out and he was making a move early. I thought, oh, he's going to have to hang on here, but he did the job well, and as I said, yeah, really deserved the win. So he is one to watch out for this weekend on the 7-day backup if he goes around. But we might get into things now, mate. Looking ahead of the weekend, we got the Group 2 Missile Stakes, which is a lead-up race for the Everest. There's a couple here trying to get one of them last couple of slots, so really excited about that. And we'll do what we did last weekend, which was cover the horses we're keen on from around the ground. So we'll start with Randwick, which is a soft 6 at the moment. I'm hoping that it improves into that soft 5 range, and with the true rail, mate, I think hopefully it's a fair deck there on the weekend, and obviously if we can get out of that soft 7 range, it'll be quite good. So you got any sort of thoughts on how the track's going to play?
Yeah, it's probably. I think it should be playing okay, mate, especially with this kind of weather. I was getting a little bit concerned with Canterbury on Wednesday, but it started to even out a bit towards the end. But I think it should be playing okay now that the weather's settled down a little bit, and they won't be trying to look for the best ground as much, which is good.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to hopefully just seeing a proper fair track with every horse getting their opportunity, leading and running on from the rear. So that'll be quite nice, mate. We'll start in race 6. I think you've got one for us there, mate. Actually, you got one for us in race 4. We'll start there.
Yeah, race 4. There's a lot going on in here, and I'm really weary about the upside of Been Trying. It's got a lot of potential and a good horse. I like how it found the line last start, but I've landed on one here at odds, mate, and this is Cruel Summer. And it's been crooked this prep. It's lost 2 by the absolute space of a nose. But the thing here, mate, with the price with Cruel Summer, you go look through its 4 runs this prep. It's been in this grade the last 3 starts, and it's missed by a nose the past 2 runs. So it's just on the weights here. It stays at the same weight. It stays in the same grade. Yes, we've got a sticky barrier, but we're getting $15 again. And the market just continually overlooks this horse, mate. Like the past 2 times it's gone within a nostril, it's been backed in from 10s to 5s. The bookies are always pretty generous about it. I don't think this race is much harder than what it's seen. So at the $15 mark, Reece Jones just needs to get a little bit of cover early from the wide draw. I don't see why that isn't in the finish again. And when you go look through, it lost to a Sony by a nose. And I think that horse has plenty of upside, and just lost to Monte Felicity as well. So no problems with the form. Handles soft ground. I can't see why it's $15, mate.
Looks a good price runner there, Cruel Summer. One in this race that I was a little bit sort of taken by and keep my eye on was the favourite Conqueror. While I don't want to tip anyone in at that price, I think there's something about this horse. Obviously came out first up on the Kensington back in February and won quite well and looked like a real imposing colt in the yard. I thought Seven Vales went on to go pretty well after that race. And I'm just interested that they tipped him straight out. Here he is returning again off 2 trials. Hugh Bowman rode in both of those trials and obviously can't get down to the 53 kilograms. That's why Pikey goes aboard. Drawn well in midfield. I just think this might be a horse that Waller has a bit of time for, considering they obviously didn't press on after that debut win. They just put him straight back out and bring him out now. And I think he's trialling really well. So, look, he's a bit short, but I do think Conqueror is going to be pretty hard to beat in that race.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely.
Race 6, we've got the 1,000-metre New South Wales Jockeys Reunion, which is a benchmark 78. We know that Miatai is going to run this at a pretty good tempo there with Hugh Bowman aboard. Mate, I'm pretty keen on Smyrna there at the $4.40. I just think that she's a typical Hawks horse with a stack of ability that they've been pretty patient with. And the thing with her is, last prep at Moonee Valley first up, I think it was one of the horror watches of the year. The horse was clearly going to win that race and just hit a dead set brick wall. She then went and had 2 heavy track runs where she wasn't disgraced, finishing 3rd in the first one. And then, I think just had enough at the end of that preparation on heavy tracks. Prior to that, she was unbeaten, and if she wins that Moonee Valley race on a good deck, she's unbeaten on anything better than a soft 6, really. So I think her 2 trials her 1 trial, leading into this one, she looked absolutely excellent around good quality horses. Barrier 5, I think she'll sit just off the pace there in behind and get every opportunity. And with this improving track, I think she's the best horse in this race. Miatai, obviously, stacks of ability, but I mean, he just does things wrong all the time. He's a massive parade yard watch, and he's got 61.5 kilos here. So interesting race, mate. But you had one you liked here as well.
Yeah, I'm going with, and I'm really worried about Smirnova. I was on it. I've been with it for quite a while. It's a really talented horse, but I think the one the market's overlooked, and I'm getting away from my Gibbons bias here, but Van Geers, if you go have a look through its form, mate, its first up form is sensational. It's run first up. I know he's a bit off the boil, but second behind the Bopper and beat home Remlap's Gem, and we know what Remlap's Gem has done since. I think it went on to win 3 or 4 right after that. You go have a look at its fresh run prior. It was right behind Brown Ramore. This horse, mate, it finished off the end of last prep. Just 2 runs prior, it missed by half a length in this grade, carrying 58 kilograms. Now we get Dylan Gibbons, and have a look at the weight with his claim. It gets all the way down to 53.5. Oh, sorry, 54.5. So he's going to be running around with absolutely nothing. Maps to sit just midfield. And if you go off that form of last prep and it's only missed a Quinella once first up, I can't see the $11, mate. I don't really understand it. And I mean, what would the Bopper be in this race at its best and Remlap's Gem? So I'm giving Van Geers a lot of respect. I know the 4 wins from 26 starts is a bit of a worry, but it's 2 wins over this trip. So it loves this trip. And you go through its form last prep. It's 3rd behind Dragonstone and De Groin. 3rd behind Impasse by half a length. So it's always been around the mark in this grade. Both of those were BM78s. But with that Gibbo claim, it just goes down 3 kilos and fresh. I'm ticking a lot of boxes, mate. I'd have it a lot shorter than double figures right now. With respect to Smirnova, who I think is, as you said, the massive danger, I'd be pretty keen to take both of them, to be honest.
Yeah, great call there. And I certainly am one who definitely takes weights into account. And obviously Van Geers is the one here that's extremely well weighted. And the thing, we know that Van Geers is going to get out in trip. And you look through the field here, you got Miatai, Rita May's going to go forward, Cardiff's going to go forward. There might be 1 or 2 from out wide that go forward. So we're going to get that pace on, which could open it up for a runner that's just going to, sort of smoke the pipe at the rear there and come down the outside. It might be Van Geers. And if one thing we can note about Dylan Gibbons is that he certainly knows how to time his runs on these horses. So, I think that you're onto one there, mate. But I'm pretty keen on Smirnova, and I'm hoping that the Hawks have got a nice one about it and ready to go first up. Going to get straight into race 8. Sorry, it is straight into the big one. Apologies there, punters. You got one for race 7, don't you, Brossy? Off to a shocker here, mate. 1800 metre Recovery Partners Prelude. You like the favourite here, or are you playing around?
Yeah, I do, mate. Sorry, the second favourite. Just with Alcyone, again with the weights, mate. If Reece Jones gets down to 51.5, you go have a look at the last start win. It actually rated the best of this bunch. So I'm thinking all it needs to do is hold its form. And I know horses can sometimes put in that poor second up run. So I'm factoring that in. But if there's any improvement or if Alcyone just holds its form, mate, I don't see why it doesn't go extremely close in this. A 2.5 length win with 60.5 kegs, it absolutely plummets 9 kilos. There's a few here I think the jury's out with. So I'm respecting the favourite, and I know that it's well placed. It gets a good draw, loves this trip. But look, I just think Alcyone at that $4.50 is pretty dangerous, mate. If it's going to get down to the weight that it is, it's going to be pretty hard to hold out with even luck from the draw with Reece Jones again. Have you got anything in that race?
I took into account exactly what we were talking about in the last one, which was the drop in weights, as you just mentioned there with Alcyone. And I'm keen on the two you mentioned, Alcyone and also Lord Ardmore. And I was just so impressed with Lord Ardmore's win last start, going from 1,300 first up to an 1,800 metre effort second up on a heavy track. And he just blew them away running good time. And I just thought, geez, that was something special. And I don't know. I think there might be a little bit of something there that he could have a run where he goes sort of backwards in the ratings and is a little bit down because it was just such a big effort there last start. Hugh Bowman gave it an absolute peach, and I think there might be a little bit more early pressure in this one. He's not going to get that, sort of easy work of it up front. And I think the horse that comes into play there is the one you mentioned, Alcyone. Obviously, doing some special things, and Cummings knows what he's doing there, getting it out in trip to the 1,800, and yeah, that first up run was excellent, and as you said, absolutely plummets in weight to the absolute minimum. So tough race for me, mate, but I'd probably side with you there and go with the better odds of Alcyone, I reckon.
Absolutely, and as you said, mate, Godolphin, they don't get things wrong that often, and I think step out in trip, as long as it just doesn't put in that flat run and it holds its ratings. If you're going to run the best last start rating of this bunch and you get to drop 9 kilograms, it's a pretty good bet for mine.
Absolutely, and I think off that run straight away they would have targeted this race, and I think if you're going to give a young horse an opportunity against these types, now's the time to do it. So I think you're right there, mate. I'm really excited to hear your thoughts on this next race, and that's why I was sort of almost pushing you there, a couple of minutes ago on the podcast a bit early. But there's a few runners here that are sort of putting their hands up for an Everest slot. I know Bjorn Baker's throwing Bellucci Babe into the mix. Prices want to get Count de Rupi in there. There's a couple of other runners. So really interested to hear your thoughts here, mate. You got one for us in race 8?
Really tough one, mate. This is the hardest of the day. I've got the soft spot in the heart for Count de Rupi. When I declared it to Lloydie coming off, I think it was in the highway. And I remember since that day forward, mate, I've had a good soft spot for it. Rattled home in the last when all the boys launched it. So it's done me well over the years. I know you're a big fan of the horse and a big fan of Brocky Ryan. And it's hard to, I thought its placement was a bit weird. On the wet tracks, mate, I would have been scratching it. So these conditions will suit it better. Getting off the heavy decks, anything but dismissing the Rupi. Halal's one that is impossible to catch, but this is the kind of thing that can win at double figures without shocking anyone at all. Forbidden Love, you know what you're going to get on the speed, hard to peg down. And if I had to pick one, mate, it'd be between obviously Count de Rupi, but Bellucci Babe is dangerous. I know there's a lot of prospects with this horse. He's run some absolute bolters in his career. And like you go to have a look through the form, there is a fourth there behind Nature Strip and Eduardo. And that Shelby 66 form when that horse was airborne. So very hard one to knock. James McDonald weighted nicely. So if I had to pick two, mate, it'd be Count de Rupi and Bellucci Babe, but you can throw a blanket over this bunch for mine. Halal is probably the smoky that I wouldn't be dismissing despite it being really hard to catch. Keen to see your thoughts, mate. What have you landed on in this one?
Yeah, I think he can win. I think he can win the race, Count de Rupi. I think he's the one that might be ready to go here. I think he's the horse in this race that races well fresh, and I wanted to get back into that good 4 soft 5 range because I don't think he's best suited on a wet track due to his turn of foot. But yeah, I just think he draws well here. There's obviously a couple of runners that can shoot forward. Embracer and Prime Candidate are going to make this, run at a reasonable tempo. As I said, I think fresh is good for him. I think Brocky will push forward and he'll take his time getting into a position, but he'll get in there just behind the speed. And I think he's got the turn of foot to beat these first up over 1,200. I'm not keen on the Aussie bloodstock runners. I just think they're probably more suited on a wet track, or the bottom two are certainly more suited on a wet track. the two in the middle, Gem Song and Special Reward, I think a bit out of their depth here. And I thought that landed me with Halal, Forbidden Love, and Cantarupi. And Forbidden Love did some terrific things last preparation, all on a heavy track, all around that 13, 14, 1500 meter range. And I just think if we can get a track here that gives Cantarupi that opportunity to show his turn of foot, I think he's going to go really well here first up. And they trialled against each other the other day, Cantarupi and Forbidden Love. And although they were both very similar in the way they work. So 6 and 220, I'm keen as 1 times 4. I think Ruby's going to run a big race on Saturday, and I think he might even put his hand up for the Everest with all these runners getting a bit older, you know, mate. Like Nature Strip's getting older, Eduardo's getting older. They need a bit of fresh blood in the Everest, and I don't think he's a level below those, but I think a big performance on Saturday would give him the opportunity to go there. So Rupi's the one for me, and then a massive fear factor about Bellucci Babe. I think Bellucci Babe's the first up jet, also trialing well, gets J-Mac, and I think Baker's a bit serious about this horse this time around. So I'm really excited about the race. I think it's going to be a cracker on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. You're spot on about all you said, mate. And the thing with Halal is, and I know from a punting perspective, it's a really hard horse to catch, but you got that 2.5 lengths off Converge with Animo just in front of it, and the 0.2 length loss to Animo last prep, and then obviously just didn't really go on the heavy decks. So I'm extremely weary, because if it's bringing that Animo run, I don't think if they're going to beat it. Double figures right now could seem a bit silly. And getting off the wet tracks. I think both Cantarupi and Halal are the two in this race that you can say their form's just on wet decks. Scratch the last couple of runs and go off prior. It's outstanding for this kind of race. So I think the 3 you've landed on, mate, are pretty fair. I think the 4 we've got could even box them up and get something going there.
Yeah, the interesting thing about Halal as well, you have to take into account when you do your form is at Randwick, mate, he just absolutely loves it. 2 wins, 3 seconds, and a third from 7 starts at Randwick. That's almost wiping out all of his victories on his sheet there. So, you know, he absolutely loves the track. I think 1200 is a bit sharp for him first up, coming into this off 1 900 meter trial. I don't think this is a target race for him, whereas a couple of the others I think it might be. But anyway, it's an absolutely cracking race, and I'm looking forward to this next one too, mate. I found a bit of value in race 9. Which is 1600 meter Jockeys Association benchmark 78. The favourite's Contributing Factor, who was a last start winner, mate. I'm keen on Casino Kid. I just think that what he did first up was pretty excellent. He was one of the only runners all day to crack 12 seconds for his last 200. That's for a horse who, you know, he's not suited at all at the 1100 metres. He ran home in 11.82. Getting out of the 1600 metres suits him a lot. And I just think this might be one of them stables where Jan Bowen obviously trains him. You don't really know what she's doing with him at home, but I think she's got a lot of work into him this time around. And I know he's going 1100 to 1600, but he's that type of flop out of the back horse, run on late, showed enough with his first up run with the sectionals there. I think he's over the odds here at this price, and I like the booking of Sam Clibberton. So, you know, when I see a runner like that put up a huge first up effort, sectionals like that, getting out of his right trip in a race like this with tempo on. I mean, look at the go forward horses here. So I'm keen on him to run a big race. It might be 1 run short. I know everyone's saying that, but they might be spot on there. But at the price, I'm keen on Casino Kid. Who did you like there?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it, mate. It isn't a podcast without one of us landing on one together. And I'm with Casino Kid, but I also want to allude on Silent Agenda. And I know I was keen on it last weekend where it was caught wide, but this is the thing with racing, mate. You can pick up on patterns sometimes, and this is what happened with Wild Chap yesterday when managed to nab it at double figures. It was back at its home deck where it's 4 out of 4 on it, and its form came out of nowhere. The thing with Silent Agenda, mate, so if you go have a look through its previous preps, 5th up into its prep, it won. Then its next prep, 5th up, won again. Then its next prep, 5th up, and it won again. And then next prep, 4th up, it won, and 5th up, it pulled up with breathing issues. So it's 5th up now, and it runs at Randwick. And the last 3 times it's run at Randwick, it's won at $19, it's won at $15, and it lost, but it was only 2nd up. So I feel like the last few times, mate, they've put it at Randwick 5th up, it just wins. And it wins and it wins at odds. The only time that's botched and didn't work, it was 2nd up. It wasn't quite ready, and the winner of that race was Crosstalk. So my point is here, it's 5th up into its prep. It's 3 from 4 at this stage of its prep, and it's 2 from 3 at this track. Both times it's won, it's been at double figures. So, I mean, you go figure those patterns, mate, and I think the stable are thinking to themselves, this is bang on when this horse wins. Barrier 7, I know, and then I'm relying on Reece Jones to pull through a bit on the weekend. But if he can get, Tyler Schiller on this one, but if he can get it into the nice spot from Barrier 7, this is exactly when Silent Agenda wins races. And you go have a look at that win ratio, mate, 6 from 48, 2 from 3 on this track, and this time of prep is when it wins. This just looks spot on set up for it. I wouldn't be surprised if they send that into a lot shorter and it goes extremely close with even luck in running. 5th up, mate. This is when the agenda wins. So I'm really keen on that, and I'm really keen on Casino Kid because, as you alluded on, it's enormous odds, and its run was outstanding for the day. Contributing factor, just not sure about that form. First lights, a lot of what ifs. I'm happy to land on those two at double figures.
You've absolutely nailed that about this race with so many what ifs. I went through the field and I went, I just found convictions with so many runners, and I went, well, Casino Kid, I've seen it first up when I'm going to follow you, and now the race has popped up where I'm not overly keen on anything else. So, and you're spot on about Silent Agenda. He's obviously a horse that takes a bit to get going, and Joe Pride's a master trainer at placing his horses. So we might have two at good value there to keep an eye on Saturday, and I'd suggest that yours is going to go forward and mine's going to run on from the rear. So might be even chasing yours down at the end of the race, hopefully. We'll head to Flemington now, mate, which we've got some strange conditions there. We got a soft 6 at the moment, rails out 10 metres, and there's rain predicted now until race day. Not a great deal, but I'd suggest we might have a wet deck there, maybe a soft 7, heavy 8. With the 10-metre rail, I'd like to think it's going to play fair, but they might start coming pretty wide on the track there, I believe. But you've got one for us in race 2, which is the 1,410-metre Villa Paradiso benchmark 84.
Yeah, that's it, mate. And I've kept my day pretty short on Saturday. I'm trying to plonk some things at odds, but I'm thinking with the best horse in this race. That's Quintello. I think it's the right form. The Sydney form holds up. Fresh, it's such a bomb. I think the jury's out in a few of these as well, mate. Mississippi, I mean, the win rate's just so concerning. It brings in the right ratings, Jamie Carr, but it's extremely hard horse to catch. Star Eden has that form around Yonks, but I mean, that's 2 from 16. So a lot of these don't really, they just don't really have the win rate. Quintello is 4 from 10, and it's 2 from 3 first up. So I'm ticking boxes there. Marky Zara aboard, even luck from the draw. I think it's the best horse in the race quite clearly. So I'm happy to take that $3.30, mate. I think it's going to be really hard to beat. What do you think?
I agree with you, mate, and I just think that you're spot on. The Sydney form always stands up, and I can't get that Quintello win back at Randwick out of my mind, where he just put the sword to Elusive Jewel and a couple of others down the outside on a pretty wet track. And I think she's been freshened up for this, and yeah, I think she's the consistent horse in the field. So $3 looks a great price. Race 4 is the 2,000 metre, the Riverside benchmark 78. Blue Cup's the favourite at $4.80. Who's winning this one, mate?
Yeah, look, I'll try and keep this one short, but forget the last few runs of Kissinger because it had breathing issues the start prior. The run before that, it just had no luck. But look, I'm really confused here, mate. If you cut the race out and you just put Awesome Sun and Kissinger together, if you just put those two together, we've got Awesome Sun, who right now is $7, and Kissinger's $46. Last time they met, there was a head between them. The Awesome Sun and Kissinger gets 4.5 kegs off. So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, rightio, if I could reprice this race just off that run and forget Kissinger's past few, I'll be having, if Awesome Sun's 7, I'll be having Kissinger 5s or less. It meets it a truck better, mate. It meets it should a few lengths on weights better for a head between them in the margin. So I saw the $46 for Kissinger and went barrier 7, a little bit sticky. But geez, if it's finding that form again, it has to be going terribly close. Pennett's last 3 runs where it's had legitimate issues, I reckon it's right in this race. And bear in mind that run was over the 2,000, which it gets here. I don't know why there's $40 between them, mate. I reckon Kissinger's a cracker at that price. On weights, I think it'll be scooting past the Awesome Sun, to be honest. I don't know why it's 6 times the price or even more.
Yeah, and Kissinger likes a wet track as well out of Tavistock there with a soft track's ideal for him. And I think a midfield draw in that type of race on Saturday with a bit of tempo, I think that'll be perfect, mate. But I've got absolutely nothing for that race. I had a quick look at it and thought I got a lot of work to do on that, but certainly not throwing anyone into that race early on in the week. I do like one in race 5 though, which is the Ori Star 1200 meter. I thought King of Sparta was pretty special there, winning last start coming out of a barrier that I thought he had no chance in. Obviously got an absolute peach from McNeil, but he was very strong through the line. He's obviously first go up the straight here, but I think he'll be able to find cover with Calcani Royale jumping out next to him and obviously going forward. I think Zara will just pop on the back of Calcani Royale and hopefully get that cover and explode over the last 200 metres, I'm hoping. But I just loved what I saw out of him last start. And I think that we're only going to see better this next start now. So I think he's the best horse in the race. Serious Suspect, obviously, absolutely loves the straight. And that's probably the one I'm a bit concerned about. And goes all right on a soft deck as well. So, look, mate, I'm keen on King of Sparta and a bit worried about Serious Suspect. Have you got one you're keen on?
I did write off this one for back a winner, and I think you've nailed it down, mate. Just Folks, probably a nice one at odds with its Marabi form and fresh, but I saw the $4.20 for shooting for gold and scratched the head, mate. I reckon that's taken over Andre 2000's role at Outcast. That horse is absolutely gone. I saw $4, mate, in this type of field, and from what shooting for gold's coming from, I've got no idea. I'd be happy to take double figures for it if I was a bookie. So King of Sparta and Serious Suspect, as you said, mate, I think they're a Quinella job. King of Sparta, super impressive last start. Shooting for gold, I need to see more.
Geez, mate, I hope Shooting for Gold doesn't win. Otherwise, I'll be whacking that up on the Triple J Racing socials for all the Bryce Parker supporters. Anyway, I'm keen on King of Sparta there, mate, so hopefully you can get the job done. We're going to skip forward now to race 9. This is an absolute cracking race. I'm that keen on it. The 1100 metre Jockeys Celebration, benchmark 84. Obviously, the reason I'm keen on it is I've been all over this horse from the Hawks camp in fire. I think what he's been doing has been pretty special, and he's absolutely Mr. Progressive here, doing special things in weaker grade, obviously at the midweeks, but I was just so impressed by that big win he had in February. He's had a 5-month break, comes out on a heavy track, 1,000 metres, and just bolts in. It's the right time now to head to town, well weighted, and I think he's going to measure up here out of barrier 7, just sort of sitting off the pace and then exploding late. He's obviously going down the straight, but hopefully he'll find a bit of cover there from barrier 7. And I think at this stage of the day, wet track down the straight, I think you want to be sort of midfield, come out wider. Squid Game's going to be going to the rear from the inside. He's the one I'm worried about, and he's going really well. Williams sticks there, so I think it's a cracking race. I think Fire should be $3, not $2.30, but I can't go around him. Have you got an opinion on Fire or Squid Game?
Yeah, look, you're spot on about Fire, mate. And I was on its first few runs. I'm guilty of jumping off last start, thinking it was going to be underdone. I can't remember the horse I backed, but I think it was 20s into 6s, and it pulled up with an issue. But the thing with, as you touched on, mate, not only Progressive, but Fire was a mad drifter in the market that day. It just blew like the wind late. You were getting nearly $3 about it when it opened much, much shorter. So to me, that probably said a little bit underdone, needs the run. And if it's come out and done what it's done, good luck beating it this weekend. I do think it's extremely hard to beat. As you said, probably want a little bit more in the price. But that being said, I see it very hard to beat. I can't imagine they'll beat it. Squid Game's probably the one I'm a little bit worried about. But I think Fire's heading in a big direction, mate. Any improvement off that last run, I don't reckon they're going to get near it.
Spot on. Fire to finish off our day down there at Flemington with a bang. We'll head to your territory now, mate. Doomben, soft 5, rail in the true position. Hopefully back onto a good deck on Saturday, I'm assuming. We'll start with race 5, mate. You've got one for us there. The current favourite is Get the Idea, over 1,600 metres.
Yeah, I'm pretty keen on Ocean Treaty here, mate. The thing is, obviously Lloyd got suspended for not riding it out fully on the line. You go watch the replay. It's pretty savage watch. He's an incredibly good rider. He just had a bit of a brain fade that day. So we're getting a good price here because Benny Thompson's 4 out of 5 aboard. Ocean Tree's 1 out of 1 over the track and trip. It's weighted nicely. It just looks so well primed here, mate. It should have won last start. You're ticking a lot of boxes here. Loves the track, and a little bit of juice in the ground, holds no fears. I think it looks the one in this. So I'm really keen on Ocean Tree. Need a little bit of luck from the draw, but I think jury's out with most of these horses who are all very hard to catch. I'm going with the one with the good strike rate.
I like it, mate. I'll be jumping on board with you there. I think that only second up into the campaign with improvement off that first up run is enough to swing my way over Get the Idea, who I think is going to be hard to beat. But we're getting more price about a horse, I think, getting into the preparation, whereas the other one's sort of coming out of it. Race 9, I've got one there for you. It's the Brothers Rugby Club Handicap, 78, 1,350 metres. I was really keen on Rabamos first up there at Rose Hill. He's $6.50 here. And the reason I was keen on him then, he was coming out of 2 trials where I thought he just looked in really good order, and he was, being held up behind horses there and, given that opportunity to unleash. And I think his first up run at Rose Hill was a day where you wanted to be on the inside, and he was trying to come. He was off fence. He was trying to come out wide and make a run, and he certainly faded in the run. But I think this track here on Saturday, Doomben with the true rail, I think is going to be fine for those horses coming down the outside lane. And I think he'll probably sit midfield and hopefully get a gap off a pretty strong tempo. And I didn't want to jump off him after I was really keen on him out of trials. Trials are a big thing for me. They always have been. I love watching horses out of trials and trying to work out that they're in really good order. And I think we're going to get back onto a good deck as well, which is going to be ideal for him. He's a real turn of foot type horse who needs a good deck, and I think we'll get it. And this trip suits. Second up of a 4 months freshen. I think he's the right price to have a sort of a 1x4 crack. I'm interested to hear if you're keen on him as well, mate, or playing around.
Yeah, look, I am keen, and everything you've mentioned is perfectly spot on. And go have a look at the dangers in this race. Love Sensation. Go have a look at the past runs it's been beaten at. It's SPs, mate. It's on 1 from 19. So I'm not saying it can't win, but you go have a look through its runs. 380, easily beaten. 390, easily beaten. Ran last. $4.20, easily beaten. It's just not yielding. And I said the same thing about Paladas and the other glitter strip. They're the same. The bookies just keep them short, and I'm not seeing them win at all. Another golden runner here, Night Mariner, has the potential, but 2 from 10, off the boil lately, 650. So if you put a spotlight back on Rabamos, who's absolutely flying, forget that first up run. I think it's extremely hard to beat in a field where jury's out for most of these, mate. Probably worried about Enterprise Mia, just good running pattern, knows how to win, but I think a lot of these are struggling for form. Love Sensation. As I said, mate, it can win, but, that'll make it 2 from 19. Do you want to get involved? Not for me.
$6.50 punters, get around Ribamos in the last Doomben, and we'll be on for a fill up. Best bet for me, mate, over the weekend, Smirnova, race 6 at Randwick. I suggested this horse trialled really well leading in, and I think that she's got a bit of ability there, Smirnova, and with this improving track, I think she's going to be pretty hard to hold out, and I think this might be her breakthrough campaign. Just avoided all the wet weather recently. I know it's coming up again, but she's hard to beat there at Smirnova, $4.40, and value runner for mine is Casino Kid, off a hot tempo there in race 9. I think he'll be able to run on there at Randwick, and I think he's the right price at 14. What do you got for us, best in value, mate?
Yeah, I'm gonna also with the Casino Kid race, mate. I think best bet Silent Agenda on the pure fact that this is the spot that it wins. This is the track that it wins at, and the theory's proven with horses like Wild Chap yesterday, who didn't look to threaten on form, but it got back to its track and made it 4 out of 4. So horses for courses, Silent Agenda and Casino Kid getting involved there. And best bet of the day, mate, I'm going to take a massive swing here. I'm going to go with Kissinger purely on the couple of excuses, but Flemington race 4, $46. I'm just bullish it's going to beat the Awesome Sun. And if that's my measuring stick and the Awesome Sun's $7, I'm bullish it's in the finish. It's one of these horses where breathing issues and a couple of other things wrong, but you go back the end of last year and it was running over this trip, pretty much in this grade and going mighty close. So at $46, I think that's an outstanding play. Wouldn't shock to see me at all right in the finish.
And this is why I like having you on the podcast, mate. There's not many tipsters around the country that are tipping up a $46 best bet for the weekend and a $17 value bet. But, you got a great record with horses at good odds. And, we don't like coming on here and tipping up $2 favourites. We like doing form properly and finding winners. And it's a pleasure to talk it through with you. So hopefully, mate, we can have another great weekend and hopefully plenty of winners for punters. And thanks for joining me again.
Thanks for the kind words, mate. Good luck, punters, and hopefully another fill up for you again, Fish. Very good with the tips last weekend. So back the man in, fill the pockets.
That's it. Fingers crossed. Up the counter, Rupee on his way to the Everest. Cheers, guys. Have a great weekend.